Eddie! What's that?
Mama's Boy Productions.
Hey, welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico giving y'all that special edition of Redskins Report just for y'all. In this episode, giving y'all the inside scoop on the Su'a Craven situation, how we got to this situation, and the two sides of the debate surrounding his retirement consideration. So let's get to it. First of all, what's going on here? Su'a Craven's 2016 second round pick from USC, projected starting Redskins strong safety, is now on the non-football exempt list and will miss at least a month of football. If he does not return by September 8th, he will be moved to the reserve left squad list, in which he will be done for the rest of the year. With him on either list though, he does not take up a slot on the limited 53-man roster, which I'm going to analyze and break down in a video soon. But getting back to Su'a Cravens, he told teammates and staff that he wanted to retire, but has recently been talked out of it by some team officials. And right now, retirement is currently being mulled over and is not a guarantee, but remains to be a strong possibility. So, how did we get here? Well, this is the long part right here. Su'a's doubt for his love for football dates back to his days at USC. While playing for the Trojans, he sustained an unknown injury. He then went missing for 3 days while considering quitting football as a whole. He had to be called in by the team before he returned back to the team. Fast forward into Su'a Craven's rookie season with the Redskins, Su'a missed the final 3 games of last year's season due to a biceps injury. He was seen playing ping pong by teammates, and they openly questioned why he was not pushing through the injury if he was able to play ping pong. After the first 2 games he missed, teammates and coaches were hoping he could drain his arm and play in the final game, which could have put the Redskins in the playoffs if they simply had just beat the Giants at home, and Cravens was supposed to be a big part of that. But Su'a responded by not showing up to the facility for treatment that day, which angered teammates and caused our ex-GM Scott McClellan to call him and see what's going on. Also, after his concussion last year, Su'a made it clear that football was not his life. There was some drama around that concussion too, because he claimed to have had permanent eye damage, which turned out not to be true. I don't know if he was trolling, trying to find an excuse to not perform well or quit, or whatever it was, but I didn't pay much attention to it. But he expressed after that concussion that he is not fully invested into football like most people are. He is not on the same level of passion and caring for the game like rookie Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams, ex-LSU safety who was drafted by the Jets in the first round of this recent 2017 draft. He has received many comparisons to Brian Dawkins, both talent-wise and passion and mentality. And a few months ago, Jamal basically said he'd be willing to die on the field just to get these dubs, if that's what it takes. Su'a heard that and reiterated that football was not for him. And how can you blame him for that one, honestly? He saw that Jamal interview and was looking around like, man, y'all folks tripping. So, fast forward into this year's training camp, there was a video released of Will Compton trying to hype up Su'a, who he felt wasn't giving it his all the past few practices. Will Compton kept telling Su'a that he basically wasn't seeing the passion or fight from him anymore. Will then proceeded to repeatedly ask Su'a what drives him, what motivates him. He kept asking and asking. Su'a continually responded with explanations that basically meant, well, my motivation is basically just to make it through these next few days of training camp so I can rest for a few days. Will Compton was not accepting these answers and continued to ask Su'a Cravens what really drives him, what gets him out of bed, sore and tired, onto this field ready to give it his all. He was trying to inspire him, but it was to no avail. Su'a kept giving little blank, I'm just trying to make it through these next few days answers. No real motivation behind it. Now fast forward to a couple of weeks ago when he suffered a knee injury that would only have him down for 2 to 3 weeks. This gave him the time that he used to consider retiring. And this is how we got here. Interestingly, if Su'a were to retire right now, he may have to pay back his $1 million signing bonus, and he would walk away from his $651,000 2017 salary. And that there is a lot of money. I swear, if I had that right now, I'd be extra good. Which leads me to the first side of this debate surrounding his retirement contemplation. The negative feedback. There's a lot of fans and some teammates that are angry and or disappointed in Su'a Cravens. And here's why. I'm hearing and reading that many fans are angry because they cannot wrap their heads around leaving behind that much money. Many people have been saying on Twitter, Instagram, social media, blogs, articles, everywhere that they hate their jobs too, but they still go for a salary that's not even anywhere near as pretty as Su'a's. Also, the timing of this whole thing is terrible. If Su'a wanted to retire, he should have done so many months ago. Redskins coaches built and based plays, schemes, formations, and all kinds of football-related strategies dependent upon Su'a's talent, speed, versatility, and availability. If he would have attempted to retire much sooner, the Redskins coaches would have had a lot more time to prepare and plan around his absence. But now they only have less than a week before the regular season starts to figure out how to effectively replace him for a minimum of a month till he comes back, if he ever comes back. An earlier notice would have also given the Redskins time to draft accordingly. There's a report out that the Redskins' key decision makers were unaware of the lack of passion and dedication from his USC days. And if the Redskins knew about this situation before they drafted him, I guarantee they would have drafted him way later in the draft if he was available, or they would not have drafted him at all. Great players like Tyreek Hill and Dak Prescott were still available when we took Su'a in the second round. That's a very important pick for somebody to just decide he doesn't want to play anymore. Also, our fellow defensive backs were dependent on you, Su'a. People like Josh Norman and DJ Swearinger put in a lot of time, effort, and energy into helping you when you needed any help or advice. Your brothers in battle were helping you while also preparing themselves to go to war with you for the next few months. And now suddenly, you decided you're not going to deploy with them. But at the end of the day, for anybody to realize all of these consequences and to still decide it's not worth it, must be going through a lot. There must be a lot going on behind the scenes that we have yet to get a report on, which leads me to the next side of this debate. Positive feedback and understanding. Amongst all of the negative feedback Su'a has been receiving, there has been a lot of positive feedback also. A lot of fans and some teammates such as Vernon Davis and Chris Thompson have either agreed with Su'a's decision to combat his troubles, pain, depression, or they have at least showed sympathy towards the situation. Many other teammates have been through similar situations and explain how their situations are relatable. Also, Su'a posted on his Instagram story, quote, "Thank you to those who showed their true colors today, both positively in support and negatively in the misunderstanding and frustration," unquote. Which means he is emotionally paying attention to people's reactions, which to me is a sign that he is in need of support more now than ever. But getting back to the stories, Redskins tight end Niles Paul had a season-ending injury right before the start of the 2015 season, and then he had another one halfway through last year's 2016 season. He recently expressed how those injuries were very mentally tiring and difficult to overcome. He felt he had to prove himself over and over again. Also, he said, quote, "Just imagine playing football all of your life and not being able to do what you love. You've got to sit back and watch others do what you love," unquote. This is mental and psychological abuse. He also said, quote, "The hardest part was staying out of the depression that you go in when you get injured," unquote. That could very possibly be the depression Su'a is falling under right now. Redskins outside linebacker Junior Gillette suffered 2 season-ending injuries before the start of the last 2 seasons. All of his work in the offseason pretty much just went down the drain 2 straight years. Junior recently said, quote, "Every week felt like a flashback, like I should be out there right now helping this team." It got to a point where I didn't even want to watch the games anymore, unquote. It's crazy how physical problems can lead to mental and psychological problems also. There's also evidence of how injuries, specifically head injuries, can literally ruin a person's mental state. Junior Seau, legendary 12-time Pro Bowler Patriots linebacker, committed suicide in 2012 due to depression taken on by CTE, which is a degenerative disease found in people with a history of repetitive brain trauma. Similar to this situation is the recent retirement of 24-year-old ex-49ers linebacker Chris Borland, who was supposed to be a great talent coming out of Wisconsin. Chris played one full season of football, and then in March of 2016, Chris announced his retirement, stating it wasn't worth the risk after he did some research into the long-term effects of brain damage. Su'a is probably also concerned about his mental health down the road. And now, my conclusion. I'm very in the middle on this topic. I'm disappointed in him and a little annoyed, but at the same time, I deeply feel for homeboy. On one side, we were dependent on him as a team. We were expecting great things out of him. Whether it be selflessly or selfishly, we were rooting for his success in this league. But on the other side, I and many of y'all have never had a concussion or any serious brain damage, so I cannot judge him when I can't even relate or walk in his shoes. So I can't be too mad at him. But back on the other side, the timing of all of this was awful. He should have never allowed people to talk him back into playing a sport he is not 110% in. But back to the other side, he must have been under all kinds of pressure to come back. One side, direct pressure that was expressed by family, friends, teammates, and coaches who put time, effort, and energy into his success. Or indirect pressure from people who never attempted to sway him in any direction, but he felt he had to impress or show he could succeed, such as parents, close friends, etc. But at the end of the day, it's all on you, Su'a. It's all your decision. You're the one who has to live with the decision you make. I personally feel like if this situation has gotten this bad, you should just go ahead and retire. First of all, that Instagram post I mentioned earlier reveals that there are some locker room issues with you and others now because of the way they reacted to your retirement decision. That chemistry is all kinds of disturbed now. Secondly, if you are not 110% into this brutal sport, then it is not cut out for you. 99% is not enough for football. It definitely can be for basketball and baseball and them other sports, but not in football, where impact and contact is expected and not just simply allowed. If you retire, I'll miss your talent and versatility, but at the end of the day, there are people who really want to be in your position on the depth chart, or even just your one position out of the 53 people on this roster spot. Safety DeShazer Everett shows that he is willing to do almost anything to get the opportunity to have some of the reps and time to mesh with the starting defense and compete against the starting offense. He wants a shot at the starting strong safety, and now he's actually going to get it now that you're mulling retirement. But safeties Monte Nicholson, who was not a lock to make the roster, and Stephon McClure, who barely made the roster, deserve that spot if you are not going to be fully invested into this game. They want the opportunity to show what they can do also. Safety Will Blackman pretty much saved us when we picked him up near the end of the 2015 season that won our division and earned us a playoff berth. He stepped in and did what he had to do. But after the roster cut the 53 players just a few days ago, Will, a favorite amongst many coaches, staff members, and people close to the organization, and me personally, was cut. He may have made the cut if Su'a's retirement plans were revealed even just a few days sooner. Also, DJ Swearinger's neutral but supportive quote seems to sum it up perfectly for me. In a slightly disappointed but very understanding and encouraging tone, Swearinger said, quote, "He's got to handle what he needs to handle. Whether it's mental, whether it's family, we're here to support him, but that's something tough. I'm not in his shoes, so I can't speak on it, but I'm praying for him, and I hope he's back." For me, best case scenario is he somehow revives his 110% passion for the game and holds on to it tightly, but realistically, it's looking like he should just go ahead and retire, take the almost $2 million he's already made from the NFL, and invest some and save the rest. But enough about me. How about y'all tell me how y'all feel about the situation? Are you going on side 1 or are you on side 2? Get in them comments and let your opinion be heard. And don't forget, like the screen shows you, Dolemite fake punch that like button, favorite, subscribe, I'll subscribe back, and most importantly, comment and share. But again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.